Welcome to episode 13 of Interjections. On this week's episode, we talk about Marotta's interview from over the weekend, the betting scandal that's rocking Italian football, and preview next weekend's match against Torino. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to episode 13 of Interjections, everyone. Thanks for joining us here for an international break episode. I'm your host, Andrew. I've got Irfan, Jay, and Miko with me. Irfan, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well. Loving the international break.
A nice retrieve from Inter dropping points. Jay, how are you?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Hanging in there. Watched Italy beat Malta 4-0 yesterday. So, yeah, the world is a great place right now. Miko, what's going on?
Yeah, I just watched Finland getting beat by Slovenia 3-0, so it's a happy play.
Did Oblak start in goal for Slovenia?
Yeah, he took one game share right there, so.
I know some Inter fans who wish Handanovic was still starting for Slovenia, but I digress. So I want to start this week's episode talking about an interview Marotta gave yesterday. He gave a few real firecracker quotes around Lukaku, Icardi, Onana, Frattesi, just a wide range of topics. I think that one everyone's talking most about is the interviewer asked him if he would pick Lukaku or Icardi. And based on the way things have turned out, Marotta decided that he said, based on recent incidents, I'd have to say Icardi, which, is a loaded statement that has ruffled the feathers of a few Inter fans. So, Irfan, I guess I'll start with you. Based on recent incidents, would you really rather pick Icardi than Lukaku?
Yeah, for me, absolutely. It's so funny because, Lukaku did end up helping us deliver the first Scudetto we've had in a long time. But, the way he treated the club last year, all that went down in the summer transfer window, it's really hard for me to say that I would choose Lukaku over Icardi. I mean, I think as a player, Icardi had a lot to offer. And we have to remember he was here when the club was probably at its lowest in like the last decade. So he kind of carried the club and was our like lone kind of shining star for a long time. And I know the whole thing ended pretty badly and all of the Kardashian and Wanda drama was really irritating. But compared to what Lukaku did to us last summer, where he basically just went radio silent right at the brink of signing a new contract and then was like flirting with Juventus. I mean, that's like a whole different level. And I think he just burned so many bridges. I don't even think it's like an issue of like recency bias. I think honestly, the way Lukaku behaved last summer was like way more deplorable than, how things ended up with Icardi.
Do you guys think this is more of a testament to the off-field stuff rather than the on-field performance? Or, I guess, Jay, curious your thoughts. Do you think there's a legitimate on-the-pitch argument in favor of Icardi over Lukaku?
Going back a long time, I remember before Inter were ever seriously linked with Lukaku to begin with, there was some weird comparisons between Icardi and other strikers, Lukaku chief among them, and it's hard to really say at this point. But I mean, actually, let me rephrase. I would still say that Lukaku is arguably the shoe that fits more different types of feet, if that makes any sense. He's probably more compatible with different playing styles, whereas I still think that Icardi is closer to that classic poacher style of forward. That said, I do believe he's. I've always said this about Icardi. He's quite technical. Like he's low key technical. His technical skills, his passing, his vision, all of this is quite underrated. It's just that he seems to use them quite rarely. But when he does use them, you see those flashes of, well, this guy knows how to pick a pass. This guy knows how to link up with teammates and this kind of thing. I guess at Inter, we didn't get to see much of it just because of how we were so Icardi-centric at the time. So if you're talking about the players at this stage in their careers, you also have to take into account the kind of squad they'd be coming into. So I would also take Icardi over Lukaku purely from a footballing standpoint, because I think there's a player there that could link with Lautaro pretty well, link with Thuram pretty well, and also actually offer something when we go into this last resort mode and just bombard the box with crosses. He's definitely better in the air than Lukaku, definitely a better box finisher than Lukaku. So not only to speak on the players that they are, I guess when you consider how they help our squad, yeah, I'm definitely taking Icardi.
Migo.
Yeah, that's a interesting question. Like Jay mentioned, that Lukaku maybe fits better to different playing styles. Regarding Inter, then I don't know, would Icardi be really better for us? But in terms of like the player itself, I don't know. It's hard to say, because like Jay explained it very well, Icardi is not like a bad player with the ball. He's pretty technical after all. And then Lukaku is like almost opposite of that, but then his qualities are elsewhere. And I disagree a bit with the box, like a box presence when it comes to Lukaku, but obviously the finishing is on a different level with Icardi anyway. I'm not sure where I'm heading with this, but I would say I wouldn't take neither of them, obviously. But of course the Marotta answer was of course like a fantasy scenario, and the whole question was like that, and he definitely wouldn't go for either one of them at this point anymore. But I don't know. Hard to say. Maybe
Migo's not a hypothetical.
Yeah. Maybe I would take Icardi, because I just don't like Lukaku's playing style, or the playing style where he kind of forces Inter. If we had Lukaku, somehow Icardi would be more useful, maybe if he would accept being a bench striker, but I doubt he would. But like in a hypothetical scenario,
Icardi is probably a better teammate on the pitch. He doesn't demand the team play a certain style. He's a little more adaptable, and I think you saw, despite the fact he's in my opinion a bit of a poacher, like you saw different iterations of that in his time here under Mancini and Spalletti. Whereas Lukaku, if he comes in, he's a bit of a diva, he's a bit of a whiner, and he's going to demand the team play a certain way. And a large part of the reason Lautaro has really taken off this year is because you don't have Lukaku's shadow looming over him, just demanding that we feed the ball to Lukaku, let him chest it down, and miss wide open nets.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's interesting that I think we made the point earlier in a different episode that, we always thought that Lautaro was a great Robin for any Batman, but now that there's no Batman, he's actually proven that he's a pretty good Batman. He could be like the primary focus, the primary target. What I thought was interesting about that Marotta quote was that he said something. He didn't get into the details really, but he said something about how like money is like everything in football or something like that, like blatantly implying that they essentially had a deal with Lukaku and like he just, for financial reasons more than anything, kind of backstabbed us and flirted with Juve and then had some regrets and all that drama took place. So it was interesting that he said that. When it comes to Icardi, I think, and Jay made this point. I don't know if he made this point on a podcast, but he made this point maybe on the forum or somewhere else earlier. He said that like, who do you see like when the going gets tough at Inter, like who do you see like really bringing the intensity and like going into the gym and doing like 2-a-days to like get ready and like just being in like top fitness, top form, really focused, really zeroed in. And to me, Icardi seems to be like the opposite of that mentality, right? Like he seems to be a player in our history who had so much talent, so much like just pure, football, just skill. And yet he always to me seemed like a little lazy, like distracted, either by Wanda or either just like he just seemed to like not want to be he just seemed not passionate that much about football. Never really like seemed to like train very hard or took care of himself extremely well, as like you could see later on in his career. Like to me, Icardi actually represents probably one of the most like wasted potential Inter legends. Like if you could think of a list of like Inter legends who've just kind of wasted their career for various reasons, I feel like Icardi's probably one of those like biggest regrets that I have as a fan, because I think this guy could have been probably one of like the top 3 or 4 strikers in the world if he was just like purely dedicated to football.
If it wasn't for Wanda.
Yeah, and like other things, like he seems to just want to be like a 19th century, Argentinian or French gentleman rather than really just play the sport. I don't know.
You mean when he puts on a beret and goes on
Yeah.
hunting trips?
Yeah, exactly. He wants to like groom ponies.
He said himself he doesn't watch football. He doesn't have any intention to stay in football when he's done playing. That it's just a job for him. So yeah, I totally see where you're coming from. I do think I'd say there's a lack of precedent or evidence to suggest that he wasn't training hard, but I can see it's a pretty easy kind of connection to make based on, his personal life and the fact that we've seen him look kind of fat a few times.
Yeah.
Especially post Inter. But yeah, and I agree. He was well on track to becoming like, I don't know if he'd ever beat Moutz's record, but he could have done it feasibly if he'd stayed long enough, but we all know how that went. And yeah, for me the regret is Icardi obviously, but Wanda mainly. I mean, that's an example right there of his family really kind of screwing over a player's career, Samodzic. But yeah, I have a lot of regrets about Icardi too.
I do think Lukaku, if we're playing this hypothetical of who you'd rather have in that team right now, I think you have to take Lukaku if you ignore the off-the-pitch stuff, just because Icardi hasn't played high-level football in what's going on 5 years. We sold him. He did nothing at PSG for 3 years. He's been sent to Turkey now, which I just don't consider Turkey and chipping Onana against United like high-level football.
Come on.
He's still young, but come on. This guy hasn't played a full season and been a meaningful goal scorer in a long, long time. At least with Lukaku, you can point to the end of last year. You can point to, I guess, 2 years ago now, where it's like, okay, this guy was truly one of the best forwards in Europe. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I get you, but I think we can't like totally ignore the like circumstances that if Lukaku was at Inter, he would demand to be the first striker, like the first guy in the lineup. And
Yeah.
because he had troubles with the last season when Dzeko was preferred. And it's like if we ignore that, okay, then Lukaku as a pure footballer could be better now, but you can't ignore that. That's part of the equation, I think. So
Yeah,
by the same count, though, you can't ignore the fact that Wando is still around.
yeah, true. Yeah, it's part of the package as well. So this is like a hypothetical scenarios anyway.
I wouldn't be too concerned about the whole, playing in Turkey and that kind of thing and playing in France. Admittedly, he didn't play much in his last 2 seasons at PSG, but I think it's like partly mentality and skill set. I think Icardi kind of adapts to where he is, I reckon. So PSG, you're winning as a given. Turkey, I guess, somewhat of a big fish in a small pond. And these things take into account the way he performs. So I think, in some fantastical scenario where he came back to Inter, I think he'd play at a pretty good level, to be honest. But obviously unrealistic at this point, considering he just joined Galatasaray on a permanent transfer. So we'd have to pay a transfer fee for him, which, invalidates the whole conversation.
Yeah, but what's interesting about Icardi is, well, obviously we know that PSG is kind of where Inter players' careers go to die. We've seen another example of that as well. But I think what's interesting with Icardi is that, it was like deep in the Champions League semifinals, or maybe it was that year when PSG made the Champions League final, and they like needed a goal or something, and Icardi was on the bench, and they put in like Choupo-Moting instead of Icardi. Like
Yes.
I have like vivid memories of this happening. Okay, yeah,
it did.
So
Yeah.
That's quite an indictment. I mean, like if you're sitting there and you need a goal, and Icardi's on your bench, and you're putting in Choupo-Moting, I mean that's a wake up call if there's ever been one. And it kind of like, goes to that whole point where like, it can't just be about talent or skill, because I don't think anyone would argue that Choupo-Moting is a more talented or skilled player than Icardi, but it comes down to like effort and focus and just like being ready. And, clearly he was preferred. I think he even, actually, I don't think he ended up scoring, but he had scored a couple of clutch goals for them in that tournament. So with Icardi, it's just you just never really know what you're getting. Like the focus is just probably going to be off. And yeah, like we talked about Wanda and stuff like that, but ultimately, like, it comes down to him as a professional and whether or not he's, tuned in and focused and can actually deliver. So Marotta's comments, I think, were very interesting, because like he could have gone either way, really. You could see the benefits of Lukaku on the field and the fact that he was a critical component of our Scudetto. Like no one's going to rewrite history on that. Like he was just a key component in that Conte team. But everything's just so soured with him. Like talk about a player whose legacy Lukaku has completely just hit the skids for this team.
I'm still not even sure what the question was, and I'm seeing that there's, at least from what I've seen, there's more people like me who are not entirely sure either. Was it a case of who was the better, like who had a better Inter career, who was the better player, full stop, or like better deal or something? Like what's the? In addition to that, I'll say that I'm positive that Marotta's comments were a deliberate dig at Lukaku as well.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
It was not a praise of Icardi as much as it was a shot.
Yeah.
I'm 100% convinced of that, at least. But I'd like to know more about what the actual question was. Does anyone know?
But what I'm seeing is that the question was, who would he rather have at the moment?
All right.
Yeah, so that's definitely like a poke to Lukaku that he doesn't want.
Yeah, the honest answer is he'd rather have neither of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think most of this podcast would probably vote neither as well. In fact, I would vote Dybala. I digress.
He should have just said whoever's free. That would have been the right Marotta answer.
Icardi actually reminds me a little bit of Immobile in that it's just a playing style that's not conducive outside of Italy. Like if you put Icardi in the Premier League, or maybe why he didn't succeed at Barca's academy, it's not a style of football that you can get away with in most countries. But in a slower, more tactical Italian game, you can get away with kind of playing this style of football, and that's why I view someone like Immobile as useless with the national team, and why Icardi, among other reasons, have really broken through with the Argentinian national team. It's just a style of play that doesn't travel well.
He said so himself. That's why he moved from Barcelona to Sampdoria. He knew that his style wasn't conducive with, that was Guardiola was the coach of Barcelona at the time when he was just breaking out of their youth team. I think that was like late 2000s, like 2009, 10, and yeah, the guy recognized it himself that he wasn't going to fit in at Barcelona's tiki-taka style at a first team level, so that's why he moved to Sampdoria.
Did you guys see, by the way, the Immobile comment yesterday about how he's like I don't know, he was having like a second thoughts about the Saudi Arabia move he would have got last summer. And
I did see something, but I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't see what his exact words were, nor the question. But I did see that there was some doubt thrown in about his future or whatever.
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of rumors linking him to Inter in January.
Andrew's getting excited.
Or if not January, at the latest next summer then.
When we sell Turam. When we sell Turam for 25 million plus bonuses.
Yeah.
If we pay the 30 million that our boy Claudio would demand in exchange for a 33-year-old Immobile, I am going to lose my mind.
Well,
don't do it.
Next summer it won't be like that, but if he's play like he's played now, but
if he plays like he's played now, then we definitely do not want him.
Yeah, he seems to be. I mean, he scored the other week, didn't he? But he's been. Or was that even did he score a penalty or something? I can't remember. He scored recently, but I think it was a penalty or some crap goal. But he's not been great like this season and last season as well.
Yeah, he lost his starting spot, or not like a regular starter anymore. At least it seems so. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what's gonna happen.
This is some lunacy. His contract expires in 2026. So Lazio signed him till he's 36.
Really?
They did an Inter.
Well, this is I remember saying the same thing about Acerbi at the time.
Yeah.
When we were linked to Acerbi, like they had signed him for a long time. That's why we had to pay 4 million for like a 35-year-old because he had signed a long contract with Lazio as well.
So we're gonna loan him next summer. That's fine.
Look, I'd loan him in January. I mean, I didn't want to. I was kind of saving this question, but if you guys were interested in, if the team was interested in actually signing a forward in January, and I know that Marotta already kind of said that they are definitely not, but as Irfan said last episode, who knows how things will go between now and January, and if things are not going well with our third and fourth strikers, then they might be forced to move. Would you guys take like an Immobile on loan then?
Yeah, I mean, I would take any able-bodied striker at this point if it means I get to watch less of Sanchez on the pitch. I was just trying to. Go ahead.
You're going.
No, I was just saying I was trying to rack my brain thinking of like who are some of the bottom of the barrel type strikers who might be available on like easily accessible deals in January, and I have one absolutely absurd name for you that I will throw out there. But I have a former Euro-winning Italian who is disgruntled at his current club, who has a proven goal-scoring track record in Italy, and that is Lorenzo Insigne. Is he wants out of Toronto at all costs, and Toronto's talking about possibly loaning him just to get rid of his wages for half a season. So if you want just an absurd, unrealistic name, I present to you Insigne.
Interesting. I think his salary might be too much.
Doesn't he earn like 8 million or something?
Yeah, like this isn't happening. I'm just for playing the Marotta hypothetical game.
Yeah, but there's like I wouldn't call that out like completely, because if there's such circumstances he wants out, so we know Marotta likes Insigne. He wanted him at Inter like a year ago or something, I believe. But yeah, I don't know.
What about Icardi's teammate?
What's Icardi's teammate?
No.
Who?
Mertens.
We were linked with him for so long. Mertens, yeah.
Okay.
Look, in like 2014, when we were linked with Dries Mertens, it was exciting. In 2023, being linked with Dries Mertens is just that.
Somewhere Lucas is calling up Marotta.
Offering his
Lucas
service.
Moura?
Yeah, Lucas Moura.
You know, Lucas Moura is only 31.
What?
He's only 31 right now.
Yeah,
So
that's basically 44 Brazilian.
Is he
And too
playing
young.
somewhere?
Too young for us.
Is he playing?
He's playing in Sao Paulo.
No way.
All right.
Did not know that. Is Caputo available somewhere?
I don't actually know what happened with him. He was playing at Sassuolo last time I saw, but is he still there or what happened?
No, I think he moved.
That's another Finnish player where you just look at. He was like great for Sassuolo a few years ago, and even Sampdoria, and then got old. I think he's like 35 years old. He's 36 years old now, and he's playing at Empoli.
Empoli, that's what it was. Yeah, I will say though. I will say now that Roma has signed Lukaku, maybe we can make a cheeky bid for Belotti.
Yeah, Belotti's playing well for them right now. He's
I know.
important for them.
Exactly.
He's more prolific than Lukaku. All right, well, let's talk about. So Marotta had a few other quotes yesterday. The other one I want to hit on is someone asked him if he'd be willing to bring Onana back, and he didn't rule it out. And I don't think this is like feasible or anything. But I just want to ask you guys, based on the way Onana is playing this season, if he became available on loan next summer, would you be willing to take him back, or is the bloom kind of off the rose with him for you guys, where you're starting to doubt his abilities as the keeper?
I would absolutely take him back. I think he would be like immediately just like last season. I think it's everything to do with how it's the whole situation at Manchester United is totally,
The environment.
Yeah, it's a total mess. The squad don't know how to play. Well, how to play together, and they don't know how to play with such a keeper. And at Inter, that's been going on for like 3-4 years now. Like how to play with a keeper who you pass back to him and you build from the back.
Inter have this recent reputation of being like a halfway house for like retarded menace kids, you know what I mean, or just like fuck ups who, get rehabilitated at Inter after suffering trauma or abuse elsewhere. They come to Inter and they somehow, rehabilitate their whole careers. And so I totally agree that Onana could walk back here and just pick up where he left off. To be honest, I have complete confidence that would happen, but it would, again, I don't think Marotta or any of us are like remotely serious about the idea of bringing him back just because of the finances and stuff involved. But if it were a possibility, I'd say it all depends on how Sommer is. I don't think he's been excellent. Like, if there's like a couple of goals that, aside from the one notable mistake against Sassuolo, there's been a couple of goals where I'm thinking, just give me 10 to 15% more and save that. You know what I mean? Just want that little bit more quality. If he can finish the season in a manner where he is saving those kinds of shots like the difference between a good goalkeeper and like a league-winning goalkeeper, because at the end of the day, you kind of do need your goalkeeper to make miraculous saves here and there. That's what you pay, high wages to a goalkeeper for. You don't, I mean, like only mid-table teams settle for a goalkeeper that does, the just the basics and saves everything at like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 difficulty. But you don't expect more. Like Handanovic, we relied on him to pull out these miraculous 10 out of 10 difficulty saves every now and again, right? And at the end of the day, those points saved from those saves are crucial to your goals and can be the difference between winning or losing a league title, right? So if Sommer can kind of play to a level where he is contributing with these big saves here and there and still going strong at the end of the season, I guess you probably wouldn't take Onana back. I'm one of the few Inter fans that actually thinks Aldero is probably underrated among Inter fans. I think he's
Hey, I'm
actually
with you
pretty
on that.
solid. Yeah, there we go. But so it's not like we need much competition, or that it's not like a Handanovic Onana situation last season where one guy, Handanovic, is like, or has already rapidly declined and needs urgent replacing. So yeah, it depends on how Sommer plays. But again, like I said, I don't think this comment by Marotta was particularly serious, just like his comment on Icardi or Lukaku.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
mean,
I mean, I would take
Go ahead.
Onana back as well, but I kind of disagree a little bit with characterization of Summer so far. I think he's made a number of pretty miraculous type saves, and some of the more difficult saves that maybe he got close to but didn't make. I think that happens with pretty much every goalkeeper, even someone like Magic Mike and all that sort of stuff. So I think he's been as a pure shot stopper. I think he's been just as good as Onana was for us last year, if not like even slightly better. But I think, yeah, like Miko was saying, you do lose some of that kind of intangible ball distribution type of stuff, which I've been on the record as saying I think is pretty overrated for a goalkeeper. Like, give me someone who can like actually just stop the ball at a really, really good rate, and like Jay said, make some miraculous saves along the way. I'd rather take that. But again, given the age and given Onana's history, like if it was a real possibility to bring him back, I think we should try to bring him back. But the only problem is like you end up in that same kind of Lukaku type situation where you're in this like halfway situation trying to figure out if we're gonna end up keeping him or if we're gonna just be like kicking the can down the road to solve a problem a year or two later, which I know is kind of like an Inter special, but practical considerations on that front would need to be had on what kind of a deal we would have. Because I don't know if I would just want Onana back for one season and no kind of long-term prospect. You're just figuring that out again in another year.
Yeah. Speaking of goalkeepers, we missed out on Vicario. He's been just blindingly amazing for Tottenham. I've caught a couple of the games this season. He's just been ludicrously good. Obviously, they ended up paying something like 18 million for him, so probably would have been out of our price range. I remember we were linked with him as the Onana replacement very early on in the Mercato, and at the time the figures that were rumored by the press were in the 15 million range, if I'm not mistaken, like 11 to 15 kind of range. But yeah, as I said, ultimately ended up going for 18, 20. So probably a bit of a moot point, but a little bit of regret that we weren't able to bring him, because like I said, it's just been fucking amazing this season.
We needed to negotiate that extra 1 million in potential bonuses with Manchester United. We needed to do that. So it took us a couple of weeks to close that Onana deal because of that. So
I mean, you think if Onana was going to be sacrificed, or if it was known or identified that Onana was going to be our sacrifice earlier in the Mercato, or even maybe at the end of last season, they could have kind of tapped up Vicario a bit earlier. But whatever.
we missed out on so many received targets during the summer mercato. It's hard to keep track of them all. But for what it's worth, we had to sign a few stopgap solutions and just to buy us time until, I don't know, Zhang defaults on his loan. But, Summer, Cuadrado, those kind of deals, and while most of them have been complete disasters, Summer is the one stopgap type solution that has actually worked out for us. So
I saw a stat
thankful for
which
that.
was that I think our third and fourth strikers are the only like backup forwards that are yet to give a goal contribution, but that's not true because Arnautovic gave an assist on his first game, but maybe it might be they haven't scored a goal between them yet or something like that. But I saw some stat which was along those lines. X games into the season, the only backups that are yet to score are Arnautovic and Sanchez, which is not great.
Yeah, I mean, this team desperately needs Arnautovic back. Recent reports indicate he might be back in early November for the Salzburg Champions League fixture, so hopefully he can start tipping in on the goal scoring front then, because I am very pessimistic about Sanchez scoring any goals in his reserve role.
Do you think there's a legitimate chance that we will spend some money in January for a striker?
No.
No.
If there's like a Caicedo available on loan, that's the extent of what I imagine we just don't have the financial flexibility right now. It's unfortunate, but Arnautovic will be like a new signing.
What about you? How do you see it, Jay?
Look, put it this way: if Arnautovic and Sanchez are complete non-factors in January, I think we will make a move. I don't have any foresight into what that move might look like in terms of the budget or whether it's just like another fucking Caicedo, some old prick, just brought in literally as a body, as a torso, or whether it's actually like an ambitious kind of, we need something, so let's actually address it and make that sacrifice, that financial sacrifice, and bring someone in. Like, I can't say whether it'll be situation A or B, but I like to believe that if Arnautovic and Sanchez are not pulling their weight come January, that we will do it. I really want to believe so. Have fun.
Yeah, I mean, if we're serious about a Scudetto, I think we would have
exactly.
to.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah, like it kind of shows again, like the ownership and the management's ambitions have to match our ambitions, right? Like if they're truly in it for a Scudetto, and it's very clear that by January Arnautovic and Sanchez are just not contributing much of anything, then they have to make a move, because we can't possibly rely on those two guys to lead us to a Scudetto. I mean, and then it'll reveal, like, if the target is truly just top 4 Champions League, do as good as you can in the league, then maybe we'll stay pat. But the way I see it is like they can get creative. So I think it's well known that we're gonna have to add at forward this summer, because I don't think Arnautovic or Sanchez are probably going to be here next year. And so, it's pretty clear we need to spend money. Some money will have to be allocated towards forward for next summer. So, a loan deal with an obligation, or a loan deal with an option, or something like that could be feasible for a player. You just have to find a team that's willing to kind of give up a player in January, which is always hard. But they can get creative and maybe just kind of do a deferred kind of obligation, and the money that you might have been kicking out for a year and a half, you just have to kick out for a year or something like that. So let's see. But I do hope that they do something, because it does seem like Sanchez looks like a total like bust to me. But again, maybe with some more reps and and the right situation, he can contribute, and hopefully Arnautovic just comes back from injury. But so far, it's not looking promising.
Look, you can always cut Korea's loan short. I'm sure Marseille would love to oblige.
Did we talk about this last week? I can't remember, but there were reports that came up that Porto are kind of realizing they screwed up past summer, by not selling Taremi, and with his contract winding down and expiring in the summer. One, we would be interested in signing him on a free transfer, but also two, Porto would love to sell him in January, and maybe there's an opportunity there where you get a player for less than market value, so that if we are serious about spending money on a forward and not just a free loan, that might be an option. Also, just had the caveat that we're also due for a Sanchez injury. Haven't had one of those yet.
Yeah.
When is the Asian Cup?
Yeah, it's right
You're
there.
located in Asia, you tell us.
Sorry?
EST anyway.
You should know, Jay. Who else would know?
I think it's right there in January and February. So, but maybe at the end of the window, the late January, Taremi could be like a possibility.
I mean,
like it's not impossible. I think if there's some budget left, because
I agree.
We've like shown legitimate interest to Taremi, and his agents know it. And if we like tell him that again, that we are still interested, then why not?
Yeah, and I mean, when we were linked with him before we signed Arnautovic, I remember the price was like, we were talking amongst ourselves, would you sign him for 30 million? And it was just like, it's like you identify that you need the player, you identify that the other options are just so uninspiring, but at the same time, it's 30 million is just such a huge amount of money for a player on an expiring contract, never played in a league higher than the Portuguese league, etc., already 30, whatever, right? And I remember us talking about this, but then towards the end of the Mercato, it looked like Milan would sign him. It looked very, very likely that they would sign him, and at that point, the price had dropped to 15 million. Firstly, thank fuck that we didn't pull the trigger for 30 million. But I guess if that's the price that they agreed with Porto at that time, then you would have to expect the price to drop even lower to like 12 million, maybe even less. So if Taremi is available in January for like 8, 9, 10, 12 million euros, going up, stretching to 15, maybe you take it, because again, it's like it's a risk kind of analysis. You have to weigh up the opportunity cost, right? It's not just the money spent on the player. It's like, can you afford to risk not signing the player and potentially really just screwing up on your goals? And as Irfan said, it'll be extremely revealing how we act in January if our backups are not, suddenly or between now and then really, really contributing. And being as maybe I am pessimistic, there's no doubt about it, but being the pessimist that I am, I just have a hard time like imagining in my mind's eye Sanchez and Arnautovic just chipping in assists and goals regularly like you'd want backups to do, right? Or bench options to come off the bench and make some impact. I just struggle to visualize that happening on a reliable and regular basis.
Yeah, I agree.
Completely agree.
Yeah, and I think the one other thing that we need to see, and it'll be interesting to see how we play when we're back from the international break, given Arnautovic's injury. And I think everyone can see, including Inzaghi, that Sanchez has been pretty limited in terms of his effect. Again, he scored again for Italy against Malta. Like, Frattesi needs to be on the field. Like, he needs to be on the field for us. And if that means, playing him in a more advanced role right behind Lautaro, like, we should roll the dice on that, because he has these goal-scoring instincts where we have to give him more playing time. He's also our most expensive signing and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully Inzaghi can figure out a way when we need a goal or when the forward backups are just completely ineffective, to kind of change things up and maybe stack the midfield a little bit or start playing somebody a little more advanced with Lautaro or something else.
On top of that, Barella's been in some. I mean, I've always kind of been a little bit cold on Barella compared to most Inter fans. Like, I just never really saw him as like this, new Nicola Botti kind of certified future legend, personally. But so maybe I am biased here, but I just feel Barella's form this season has been just shit, in a word. I feel like it's been really poor. He's had one or two kind of solid games and some good moments, but otherwise I feel like he's just been really, really weak. I think this is easily the weakest start to a season he's had.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with that. He's been poor this season for the most part, and he's not playing that well. And I just have a niggling feeling in the back of my mind that when next summer comes around, the finances are out of balance, and we need a solution to the problem, that they'll choose Barella as the sacrificial lamb. And I have no evidence behind that. It's just a bad feeling in my soul from having watched this team be dismantled for the past 3 or 4 summers.
Miko,
Well,
set these guys straight, Miko.
Yeah, I'm just face palming here. I don't think the situation is like this bad. I would, as for the strikers, I would like wait maybe to the end of the group stage of Champions League to like see some kind of a or do some kind of an analysis. What's the situation with the strikers? If they are like still pretty useless, the bench strikers, then I would be worried. But there's a lot of games to be played before January. We actually play a pretty much like compared to last season when there was the World Cup. We play quite a lot in, like, I think it was in December we play around Christmas as well. So there's a lot, not a proper Christmas holiday, I believe. So there's a lot of games to be played, I think. So I would wait a bit. And well, Barella, he hasn't like I think we can see he hasn't scored or assisted as much, but I think he's playing a bit lower in terms of the position. So I think that might affect his stats ultimately. But yeah, maybe he's been a bit weaker this start of the season. But I'm not too worried. I think he gonna do just fine.
He misses his friend.
Maybe.
Do you guys want to talk about the betting scandal a little bit that's going on? I will level set this with like actual confirmed news, and maybe we can dive into the unsubstantiated rumor. But basically, what's going on is it all started when Fagioli from Juve was questioned by police for betting on football matches. He claims he did not bet on any Juve matches, but it seems pretty clear at this point that he did. He admitted to FIGC investigators that he bet on football matches.
Did
and
he?
Then that's what I'm reading in a few articles from The Athletic. So then,
wow, he's
now
getting like a big ban then. If he has done that. Damn.
yeah. So just to read the exact statement, so I get this right, The Athletic contacted Fagioli's legal representative who referred us to their earlier statements. Later, they confirmed Fagioli's alleged bets were on football, but were not related to his own team. So he is the only player confirmed to have bet on football matches as of now. And then it came out that a few of our Italian players who are applying their trade in England, Zaniolo and Tonali, are both in trouble. They're being investigated not for betting on football matches, but for betting using illegal gambling websites. So you're allowed to bet in Italy, but you have to use sanctioned sites. And Tonali and Zaniolo both use sites that were illegal, and as a result, that's why they're being investigated. We don't know whether or not they were betting on football using those sites. Zaniolo's, I think, claimed that he was using it to play cards.
Yeah.
Those are the three confirmed names, and you saw Tonali and Zaniolo leave Italy's training camp midweek to go back to their clubs while they were being, questioned by investigators. Since all this has come out, there's been, I'd say, dubious sources basically claiming every Italian player in the league, including a few Inter players, has been involved in this in some capacity, but most of that is unsubstantiated. The Fagioli, Tonali, and Zaniolo news is the true, hard, we can feel confident about the point. So I guess I'll turn it over to Miko first. For Miko, any thoughts on the eventual fallout of all this?
Yeah, that was news to me that Fagioli actually admitted betting for games. That's bad for him. I think that sounds really bad for him. But anyway, no one else has admitted betting on games. Tonali and Zaniolo was said to be they played blackjack and poker. So okay, the illegal sites are illegal, so that's semi bad, but nothing against the rules in terms of playing as a professional football player. So I think that's not that serious then, and I would assume that's the case for most of the players, or they are extremely dumb if they've done that actual betting. But yeah,
you guys know the Brentford striker Ivan Toney, who got banned for a while for his football betting. He was betting on himself to score and shit.
Yeah.
There was funny detail that Zaniolo's mom was also involved because
Of course she was. I think the scandal is it's just it's another. I saw this meme where it was Italian football, can't you just be normal for fucking 1 second? But I think, as Andrew said, there's been some dubious or unconfirmed sources claiming that, I heard some voice excerpt of, I don't know who it was, but some guy was going on in Italian and just naming all these players, and he named by name Barella, Bastoni, Fratesi, and Damian, and like Andrew said, dubious sources naming a lot of different Italian players from a lot of different clubs, including some of ours. And at this point, it's just so it's still great. We don't know what's what. Obviously, absolute nightmare scenario is that these guys are involved and did bet on football, in which case we're just beyond fucked. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see and hope that if they are involved in any capacity, it's what Zaniolo is saying, that they were just essentially playing cards or blackjack or whatever, and didn't know the site was illegal, and the whole thing blows over because, do I have to really say it? If key players of ours are suspended for a long time, then it's Europa League or worse for us.
Yeah.
The Barella and Fratesi and Bastoni names were pretty scary to see on even a hypothetical list, given how important they are or could be going forward. But I don't know. It seems like a lot of speculation at this point. I mean, Fagioli is the only one, like Andrew said, that has so far admitted to gambling on actual matches. If it is online poker or online stuff, it might be illegal, but whatever. I don't think that should be a huge issue other than just a slap on the wrist. To me, Barella, personality wise, doesn't seem like somebody who'd be a heavy gambler or somebody who can't resist his impulse to gamble. But I don't know, seems like more of a younger player. Fratesi might be. I don't know. It's just all speculation, but hopefully, nobody's implicated on actual, betting on the matches, because that would just be incredibly dumb.
I'll tell you what, not to be one of those, modern social media armchair psychologists, but I did take a little bit of solace. I admit I was a little bit encouraged by the fact that their social media behavior was completely normal. They were like, as recently as the Italy match against Malta, and this was after these guys were named by this random audio clip, which was posted on a Juve account, by the way, or some Juve fan Twitter. But after that, and after this whole scandal came to light, and after these guys would have seen Tonali and Zaniolo being dragged from training camp by the cops in chains, obviously that didn't happen, just exaggerating, but after all this, they were commenting on each other's Instagram, saying king and great game and all this stuff following the Italy game. And someone DeMarco put a photo of himself up on Instagram following the Italy-Malta game, and someone at Inter, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Turan, but someone wrote like the best left back in the world or something, and then Bastoni left like a fire emoji or whatever, so like their behavior was pretty normal, right? Whereas if you'd think that they were implicated on some big thing at this point, there'd be lawyers involved, like I assumed there would be for Fagioli, and you'd be pretty, you'd have a muzzle on, you wouldn't be on social media and that kind of thing. So that's one small and probably unimportant detail, but just something I noticed, and that kind of gave me a tiny bit of comfort.
Have you checked their Truth Social?
I haven't checked their Parler accounts.
But regarding this gambling thing, I read that it might be pretty typical in, at least in Italian football scenes, that players do this gambling, and I mean gambling, and not maybe betting, but like gambling, and gambling maybe even in those illegal sites. I don't know what kind of sites they are, but I read that it's not like common thing. And then I don't know, was it Fagioli's father, or who was it who made this comment that that agents should keep take better care of their clients, because like clubs won't do anything, and the families can't see anything or everything, and so on, that because they said that Fagioli might have some kind of addiction. That there was a claim that he spent like over 1 million for this gambling. So
yeah, I saw that. Yeah, like
pretty bad.
I saw some quote saying the boy is seriously addicted to the game or something like that.
Yeah, so I kind of understand in a sense that if you're addicted, you need help from the outside. You can maybe figure that out by yourself, and if you're using this kind of illegal sites, then it's even worse in a sense. So yeah, that's a tough game for Italian football in general.
They need those Finnish grocery store slot machines. Miko was telling me about how they have like slot machines at Walmart or something in Finland. Is that right?
Yeah, they definitely don't need those ones.
Do you guys actually do Walmarts exist outside North America, or are you just making a casual reference? I'm just curious.
I think it's just like I was just saying like the Walmart equivalent, but I remember.
I'm just curious.
I don't know. I haven't seen, not in Finland, but what about Australia?
No, we don't have Walmart. We have two big chains called Coles and Woolworths that are, I think, owned by the same company anyway. But in any instance, we don't have slot machines there. But every single pub and bar has a quote-unquote VIP section or a gaming lounge, which is just packed to the walls with slot machines. So gambling is, everywhere in Australia, which is great in my opinion. But let's not go there.
Fagioli's father coming out and saying his agent needs to keep a better eye on the player, I think just speaks to how ahead of the curve Marzik is by having his father as his agents, just establishing a mechanism for his dad to keep ties on his gambling.
Maybe the 350,000 that Semazic's father wanted from us was a gambling stipend.
Yeah, exactly.
all for Samardzic to bet on himself to score goals. Of course.
It was a casino credit. It wasn't even like a agent commission. Like, I want 350,000 in chips at the Bellagio.
All right, so we'll keep you all posted if further developments come out for this gambling thing. But as of now, we don't want to dive into the bottom of the barrel rumors, and I think we can all sleep easy at night until something more substantive comes out.
Look, all I'm going to say is that, well, the last thing I'll say on this whole gambling thing is the worst case scenario is that multiple players from Juve and Inter are banned, giving Milan a free path to the Scudetto. That's like nightmare scenario from me.
All I'm saying is if it comes out that Correa was illegally betting on matches he was participating in, it would all make so much more sense. Let's look ahead now to next weekend's match against Torino. We play on Saturday against Torino. They've not been good this year. And again, they never really are that good. This is a perennial 10th to 15th place team, I'd say. They've scored a whopping 6 goals this year, conceding 9. They've lost 2 of their last 3 fixtures. They haven't won in just about a month now. Recent highlights from their matches include a loss to Juve, a loss to Lazio, and a tie draw against Roma. I guess I'll start with you, Irfan. How are you sizing up Torino as we head into this fixture against them?
Looking forward to a nice 1-1 draw, most likely off the international break. Getting ready for some kind of a disappointing result, but I don't know. I'm so like jaded right now because of the way we went into the international break. It's hard for me to be super objective here. I mean, we really should beat them down 2-0. I mean, it'll be defensive just because that's how Torino play, but we really should, I think, beat them 2-0. I'm hoping the team has a bit of a chip on their shoulder and comes out. It's just, it would have been nice to have them play right after the disappointing draw we had, but I don't know. Objectively, I want to say 2-0, but I'm still like kind of pessimistic after the way we ended that last fixture.
Miko, we're going to be going up against a couple of our former players. Torino starts Villanova at right back and Lazaro at left back. I'm curious if you anticipate either of those players giving us problems this week.
No, we're gonna win. It's gonna be fine, as usual. Yeah, I don't see getting problems from those guys, but maybe the issue can be the goal scoring. I see that Lautaro is gonna play. He's gonna play late Wednesday, or is it Thursday? Or it's an like early Thursday in Europe time, I guess.
Let me check this for you live.
It's
He plays
Wednesday.
Early Wednesday morning Europe time.
Yeah. But so he's gonna come back on Thursday maybe. So he's gonna probably train with the team on Friday. So there's like a one day for training for Lautaro and then play on Saturday because we have the Champions League next week. So there's not a lot of training for Lautaro. So that's the issue for me if there is an issue. So I'm not seeing a great game by us, but of course we have Mkhitaryan and Cuadrado ready without their national.
Sorry. That just seemed like such a, I don't know. It seemed like not much solace, not much comfort to me.
You don't say.
Yeah. When Miko's not coming through with like just painstaking optimism, you know we're in trouble. So Jay, tell me about Duvan Zapata starting for Torino at striker. I hear this is an intriguing young prospect we might be interested in.
I'll tell you who you missed. You missed Jan Karamo, plays at Torino as well.
A former
true.
player curve is going to be in full effect.
That's right, and he scored against us. Do you remember? I think we drew 2-2, and he scored 2 goals against
Yeah.
us. Yeah, what can I say? Not expecting a great game either, just because of the international break and just because of I share Irfan's sentiment of being quite let down following the Bologna capitulation. What I will say is this: or if there's one thing I like about this match, and there's very little because Torino is not a ground that I enjoy going to, even though we've been okay there recently. What I like about it is that our backs are against the wall now. I mean, it's not going to be the end of the season or the end of the world if we even lose here, for example. But following the draw against Bologna, if this team has any cojones as such, they need to win. It's as simple as that. You can't drop points in 2 consecutive home games against weak opponents and then not react to that. We've had the international break, which hopefully, the guys use as a bit of a refresher to kind of get their minds straight and come back to this. But you really cannot afford another slip up at this point. And the guys know that. Milan are playing Juventus, even though Juventus have become Milan's bitch over the last few years. And I expect Milan to win, easily, especially with the whole Fagioli stuff throwing, a bit of a cloud over Juve right now.
Easily. Really?
Yeah, I think so. Juventus have won one game in the last 9 against Milan. That's dismal. That's
wow.
That's like our record against Juventus or
That's
Milan's
like our
record against us. Exactly. So I expect
Or Milan's record against us. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Milan's
Thank
record
you.
against
Thank
us.
you.
But
Thank you.
you get my point. I expect Milan to dispatch Juventus with ease, but you have to, if you're a player there, you have to look at that and go, look, there's a potential for us to take first place here, and for that to happen, we need to pull our end of the bargain, which is to actually fucking win. And following, like I said, following the capitulation against Bologna, if these guys have any semblance of pride, if they are really serious about wanting to win the championship, then there's no ifs or buts about it. You just have to win. And so I'm cautiously optimistic to see some reaction from us. Look, it wouldn't be the first time I'd be let down by the team if we just come out looking abject and flat and unfit and unmotivated. That would almost be typical Inter. But yeah, like I said, cautiously optimistic that we're forced to have a reaction, and I want to see what that reaction is. So I'll say 3-2. Goals by Lautaro and Thuram, because it's been way too long since both of them have scored in the same game. It's going all the way back to Fiorentina. So goals from Thuram and Lautaro, and Torino's 2 goals from Jan Karamo.
What about you, Andrew?
I think this is a good matchup for us on paper. As I just look at Torino's team sheets, this is a team I think that's going to sit back and try to absorb some pressure. It's a pretty quick team. Bellanova, as we all know, is one of the fastest players in the league. Then you have this Demba Sek guy Torino just signed, who's also just incredibly fast. So I think they're going to try to sit back and counter us. I feel more comfortable when we have initiative in matches and we're trying to pick apart these teams, as opposed to the teams are going to press us high and try to win the ball back. So I'm anticipating Torino's going to sit a little deeper here. Worried about Zapata, just naturally as an Inter fan. The one player I'm just curious to watch, I know we were linked to Schurz quite a bit during the summer before we signed Pavard. He was supposed to be the alternative if Bayern didn't manage to sell or didn't want to sell Pavard to us. So I'm just going to be paying special attention to him and see if that's a good eventual signing for us, long-term fit, as he plays center back, like center of the back three for Torino. So I want to keep an eye on him and see how he does against Lautaro. If he really is one of the best defenders in the league, then he might be tasked with man marking Lautaro, and I'm just curious to see how that goes. But I think we have a distinct midfield advantage here. I'm hoping we can get an early goal and for once in our lives finish off the game after taking a lead. So reasons for optimism, I'll go ahead and predict a 2-0 win.
You know, we should have. Sorry to interject. Hey, to interject.
Hey,
But we missed an opportunity with Samuel Ricci, I reckon. He's only 22. Torino signed him at under market value for like 8 million from Empoli a couple of seasons ago. Or maybe it was the season before last, but I really didn't want to turn this into like a anti-Aslani thing, because I'm not anti-Aslani, but like I think he would have been probably a better pickup than Aslani, to be honest. And I think he's a really solid player in the making. I can definitely see him joining a Lazio kind of level team as his next step within 2 or 3 seasons, I reckon. And I think he's got a bright career ahead of him. So I'll be just going to jog my mind when you said you'll be paying special attention to Schurz. I'll be watching Richie myself, and I think we missed opportunity for not signing him for 8 million compared to like Aslani for 10 or whatever, so 12 even. So, but I know Irfan won't stand for that.
It's all right. I think he's a good player too. But I too would be watching Schurz more. I mean, every time I've seen him play, he does look really good. He does look like he's the real deal. It's impressive actually how far forward he gets when they're attacking. He leaves home quite a bit, which I think is probably also one of his weak points. Like his positioning sometimes I think leaves him pretty exposed because he does push up quite a bit. But they have a couple of good young players, and I could definitely see Schurz being a player that we would be interested in long term, as long as Torino remain a little realistic about his price. So it'll be interesting to see. But like Andrew said, I do think that we have a distinct advantage. We've played pretty well against them, and I expect us to be able to win. And maybe Aslani will put in a nice shift to help change Jay's mind.
I hope so. I hope Aslani puts in a game-winning performance.
Did we win this matchup last season? The away match.
I kind of erased most of last season from my mind.
I think we did.
We won the home match with the Brozovic late goal. But...
Yeah, I remember.
So we won the home match and we drew the away match. It was a March fixture. Bremer scored, and this was the one where Sanchez equalized. Hold on, what year are we in? What year is it? Nope, I need 2023. I was looking at when Sanchez scored the equalizer, but that was 2 years ago. Last year would have been.
We won both.
Last game of the season. I think it was Brozovic's goal, maybe again.
Yeah, you're right.
We won both. And it was Brozovic both times.
Yeah. Okay, let's get that one again. 0-1 victory.
Yeah, it was 1-0 both matches, and Brozovic scored both times. So.
All right, so let's wrap up there, guys. I'll take over wrapping up duties due to some technical issues on Andrew's end. But thanks for signing in. Next week we'll do a recap of the Torino match, which hopefully ends in 3 points. We'll preview the Champions League fixture against Salzburg and whatever other topics come across. So leave us questions if you like. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. See you guys next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. See you.
Bye.